The subway was unusually crowded that evening, its walls echoing with the rush of footsteps, the squeal of brakes, and the muffled announcements nobody cared to listen to. Commuters pressed forward, clutching their bags, adjusting headphones, and waiting for the next train. Among them stood a young girl, quiet, shoulders slightly hunched, her long brown hair falling over her face like a curtain that shielded her from the world's judgmental stares. Her name was Emily, and it was her first week in the city. A transfer student who had just moved from a small town to live with her cousin, she was trying to blend in, trying not to attract attention in this loud, unforgiving place. But fate had its own cruel plans for her. On the far end of the platform, leaning casually against the cold tiled wall, stood a boy in a crisp designer jacket, expensive sneakers that still looked box fresh, and a smug smile that told everyone he thought he owned the world. His name was Ryan, the son of a wealthy businessman. Ryan had been raised in a bubble of privilege and arrogance. To him, the subway wasn't a necessity. It was an amusement, a place to laugh at those who couldn't afford private cars. He rarely took the subway, but when he did, it became his stage. And unfortunately today, Emily was about to be dragged into his cruel little performance. Ryan noticed her instantly. Not because she was dressed in something extraordinary, but because she wasn't. Emily wore a simple hoodie, slightly faded jeans, and sneakers that had seen better days. She clutched her second-hand backpack tightly to her chest, the straps fraying from years of use. Ryan's lips curled into a smirk. To him, she was an easy target, new, quiet, nervous, and vulnerable. He straightened his jacket, flicked his hair back, and with his friends chuckling behind him, he made his move. Well, what do we have here? Ryan's voice cut through the chatter of the station. Emily froze. She hadn't expected anyone to speak to her, let alone in such a mocking tone. She kept her eyes down, hoping he would lose interest. But Ryan thrived on reactions, and her silence was exactly what fueled him. Hey, he said louder, stepping closer. I'm talking to you. What's with that outfit? Did you get lost on your way to a thrift store? His friends burst into laughter, slapping each other's shoulders, encouraging his cruelty. Emily's face turned red. She felt every pair of eyes on her, though most commuters quickly looked away, not wanting to get involved. She tightened her grip on her backpack, her heart pounding. Ryan circled her like a predator. You know, this subway has rules, he sneered. Rule number 1, don't bring farm clothes into the city. Rule number 2, if you're new here, you gotta pay a tax. He held out his hand mockingly, palm up, as though demanding money. His friends howled in laughter again. Emily's lips trembled, but she said nothing. She refused to give him the satisfaction. Oh, she's shy. Ryan laughed. Don't be shy, country girl. We don't bite. Well, unless you count my friend Mark here. His buddy flexed his arm, pretending to be intimidating. Emily's eyes burned with shame. She wanted to disappear, to melt into the ground, but her legs were frozen in place. What Ryan didn't know, what nobody knew, was that Emily was not alone. A tall man in plain clothes, sitting quietly on a nearby bench, had been watching the entire scene unfold. His eyes, sharp and unblinking, followed every move Ryan made. He looked like just another tired commuter, maybe a construction worker or a security guard heading home. But beneath the ordinary clothing was a presence that demanded respect, a presence honed by years of training and discipline. His name was Daniel, and he wasn't just Emily's cousin. He was a decorated officer in the city's elite SWAT team. Emily had begged him earlier not to accompany her so closely, insisting she could handle the subway ride alone. He had agreed reluctantly, but when he saw Ryan approach her, his instincts told him to stay close, to wait, to watch. His blood boiled as Ryan's insults grew sharper. He saw Emily's shoulders tense, saw her eyes glisten with unshaded tears, and every protective bone in his body screamed at him to intervene. But Daniel wasn't reckless. He knew that timing was everything. Ryan leaned closer, his breath hot and arrogant. What's in the bag, huh? Don't tell me it's homework. Nobody studies in this city. Maybe it's food. Don't worry, I'll take it off your hands. He reached out suddenly, yanking at her backpack strap. The crowd gasped softly, but no one stepped forward. Emily tried to pull it back, but Ryan was stronger, and he tugged it until it nearly slipped from her grasp. That was the moment Daniel stood up. The sound of his boots striking the tiled floor was heavy, deliberate. Ryan didn't notice at first, too busy smirking at Emily's struggle. But then, a shadow fell over him. He turned his head and froze. Standing behind him was a man whose presence alone was enough to silence the station. Daniel's broad shoulders, square jaw, and piercing eyes spoke of authority. He didn't need to shout, he didn't need to boast. His calm intensity was louder than any insult Ryan could ever muster. "Let go," Daniel said, his voice deep, steady, and final. Ryan blinked. For the first time, his arrogance faltered. "Who the hell are you?" He scoffed, though his voice cracked ever so slightly. Daniel didn't answer. He simply stepped closer, his towering frame casting Ryan into insignificance. The tension in the air was so thick that even Ryan's friends shuffled back nervously. Emily's eyes widened in relief. She whispered, "Daniel," but he gave her only a brief nod, keeping his gaze locked on Ryan. The boy hesitated, then tried to laugh it off. "Relax, man, I was just joking around." "Sheesh, no need to get all dramatic." He released the strap, raising his hands mockingly as if to say he meant no harm. But Daniel didn't soften. "You think it's funny to humiliate someone?" Daniel's voice was still calm, but there was steel beneath it. "You think this city belongs to you because your father has money. Let me tell you something, boy. You don't know what power really looks like." Ryan's friends muttered nervously, trying to pull him away, but Ryan's pride was too wounded. He puffed his chest and tried to regain control of the situation. "Look, man, I don't care who you are. This is between me and her. Why don't you just—" He didn't get to finish. In one swift movement, Daniel grabbed Ryan's wrist, twisting it just enough to make him wince without breaking it. The crowd gasped again. Ryan's knees buckled, his bravado shattering instantly. "Lesson number 1, Daniel said firmly, his voice echoing through the station. "Respect people. Lesson number 2, mock the wrong person, and you'll find out how small you really are." Ryan tried to pull back, but Daniel's grip was unyielding. For a brief second, Ryan caught a glimpse of the truth in Daniel's eyes. This wasn't just some ordinary man. This was someone dangerous, someone trained, someone who could end the game in a heartbeat. And in that moment, Ryan realized he had picked on the wrong girl. The train screeched into the station, doors sliding open with a hiss. Daniel released Ryan's wrist, pushing him back gently but firmly. Ryan stumbled, clutching his arm, his face pale. His friends quickly pulled him toward the opposite end of the platform, muttering excuses as they disappeared into the crowd. The performance was over, and Ryan was no longer the star, he was the humiliated fool. Daniel turned to Emily, his expression softening instantly. "Are you okay?" he asked. She nodded, though her eyes still shimmered with the shock of the encounter. "I told you," she whispered. "I didn't want trouble." Daniel gave her a small smile. "Sometimes trouble finds you. But as long as I'm here, it won't hurt you." As they stepped into the train together, the crowd parted instinctively, giving them space. Whispers followed them, admiration and awe blending in hushed tones. Some commuters had recorded the entire scene on their phones, and little did Ryan know, by morning, his humiliation would be all over social media. Emily sat by the window, clutching her backpack, still shaken but grateful. Daniel stood by her side like an unmovable wall of protection. The train rumbled into the darkness of the tunnel, carrying them forward into a night that promised even more challenges. For Emily, this was only the beginning. For Ryan, this was the first taste of consequences he had never imagined. And for Daniel, the SWAT officer who had just revealed a glimpse of his true strength, it was a reminder that protecting family was his ultimate mission. The city was vast, dangerous, and full of shadows, but Emily was no longer afraid, not with Daniel by her side.